Well, good morning. I'm Greg Farrell, CEO and President of Farrell Wealth, and the show's Money Matters with Greg. I'm a Richard Financial Advisor, and we talk money on the show here at WVLP 103.1 FM, Valparaiso, Indiana. It's a local community radio station that we know and love here and have been a part of for a little over 3 years. Thanks for being here with us today. Excited to have you with us to be able to talk about some of the things that have been going on in the finance world. Certainly the markets we've been really focused on this year just because of the volatility. We're going to talk about that today and October's rough ride. I got to tell you, last week I could do away with. I'm not one to usually reset or have to reset, but after last week I definitely have to say. So I'm a proud graduate of Culver Academies. Let's talk sports a little bit here to begin with. And unfortunately, the Culver Eagles fell to a really good Angola team on Friday of last week in the sectionals. So their football team fell short. So that started the week for me personally. And then I have a bunch of other teams that I follow and that I love. Obviously, Indiana University, where I went and played, fell on Saturday, and then the Ohio State Buckeyes, who my dad played for and we still have season tickets for, they fell to Purdue. So congratulations, Purdue, but that was pretty tough considering that was a big win for the Purdue Boilermakers here locally. The Bears, who are a huge fan, and the Browns as well, both fell on Sunday. And then I lost my fantasy football team too. So I went 0 for 6 last week. The video recording that we did last week was a little messed up, so the audio was a little off. And that's just basically started just an awful week in regards to the market. That followed a really bad week in the market as it is. So I got to tell you, happy to move forward here and start the end of October. And hopefully we can sort of move on from here. I'm sure you, as investors too, have thought about maybe getting rid of October as well. We are down 8.8% this month to date. And I've been talking about this on the show and trying to be able to help people out as much as possible and just give you sort of this help through this rough ride. It has been volatile and it has been painful. No other way around it other than just saying that there's opportunity out there and that the fundamentals are good. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But we want to basically give you 5 takeaways for this October rough ride. So 5 takeaways we're going to talk about and let you know what they are and give you an idea to sort of reassess and reset. So that is the theme for today here on Money Matters with Greg, WVLP 103.1. We are on YouTube as well. You can find us on YouTube. Farrell Wealth is the company website or YouTube channel. You can follow us there. You can see these videos. And if you need anything from any of these videos or anything that's said that you want to be able to mark or learn a little bit more about, please just email me, greg@farrellwealth.com. I'd love to hear from you. It's FARRALLWEALTH.com. And you can also find many of the information that I use on the show on our website, farrellwealth.com. So please dig in and let me know if there's something you want to hear about or you have questions about. I'd love to hear from you. You can also find us on iTunes. The podcasts are rebroadcast there. We also rebroadcast here Fridays at 12 o'clock. Central Time, so you can also find the rebroadcast here. So let's see here, Twitter, Facebook, we're all out there. So any of the social media channels, please dig in, and I'd love to hear from you. We're going to talk about the 5 takeaways of October and this rough ride that has been, and then we're going to go into I have 8 tips. We want to talk about enhancing your balance between life and work. I just recently did a blog post that you can find at Farrell Wealth. You can find it in the Money Matters with Greg blog post that is on our website as well. And it is 8 tips for finding balance between work and life. We're going to talk about that the second half of the show. But 5 takeaways on October rough ride. Again, painful. October has been a really rough month for equities. Then again, it's historically always been one of the most volatile periods of the year. Oh, by the way, as mentioned, because last week was so bad, I kind of reassessed where I started growing a beard, and it was right about the end of July. And I got to tell you, since then the market's been pretty crappy. So I'm going to blame it on myself on this market. I apologize for trying to grow a beard for the first time since college. And although I was feeling it, liking it, family liked it, kids liked it, it was all good. Got a lot of great comments about it. Thanks for all the comments that you've had out there as far as the audience. But because we're resetting, and that is the point, the beard came off yesterday, and we're restarting. Going to reassess, and I have to say the market is up over 300 points since Greg shaved his beard. So blame it on me. If you like, that's fine. I'll be the scapegoat. And Greg's beard is going to probably be trending on Twitter sometime soon. It was. I'm glad to be able to take the sacrifice. I apologize to all those involved for the pain in October for me growing a beard, but it's gone and we're starting over. October, totally known for volatility. We've seen a number of days that have moved at least 1% overall in the month. You can see that for example, at one point the S&P had gained more than 7% in the third quarter, and did not gain more than 1% in a single day. But that same S&P 500 has gained more than 1% 3 times already in the month of October, and yet it's still down over 8% for the month in October. So when do markets really get volatile? What's the reasoning? There's a number of different reasons. But I want to talk about 5 takeaways for October's action so far. Look, here, let's go. I've been talking about bad news, talking about resetting, trying to reassess. Let's go over the bad news. The S&P 500 is down 8.8% month to date, which would make this the worst month since February 2009 and the worst October since 2008, when we all know what happened in 2008 in regards to the markets. If it finishes the month at the current level, it could be the worst since 2008. After not posting a daily move of more than 1% throughout the entire third quarter, remember, our third quarter was really, really basic and slow. Volatility had basically been pulled out of the market. And that was the first time that it happened since 1963. This month has already seen 6 out of 18 days, so that's 33%, close to at least 1% higher or lower. So it's been nuts, and that's why I bring it up and want to talk about it today. The S&P 500 has been down 14 days so far in October, the most for any month since May of 2012. Also, 78% of the days this month have closed in the red. That's 14 out of 18. And the worst for any month since 82% of days in April 1970 when it closed down. So that's the bad news. It has been really, really bad, and it is, you're looking for reasons as to why you want to stick with your strategy, stay for the long term. We always talk about making a plan and having a plan, and this is the plan in regards to long-term investing: is stay the course, stay invested, look for opportunities, and continue to continue to do your homework and invest wisely. So now for the good news. Since 1950, there have been 7 other years when the S&P 500 was positive year to date at the end of September, but fell in the negative year to date in some point during the month of October. Now, the final 2 months of those years were higher 6 times and up a 4.1% average. So historically, the last days of October have been some of the strongest of the year, with markets looking extremely oversold right now. This stage is really set, could be set for a rally, so we'll see. With more thoughts on this market sell-off, certainly dig into our website and look at the blog post that we have, Money Matters with Greg overall. But you start looking at some of these things as far as good news and bad news. But they do all tend to happen, and I don't want to get too sophisticated on this, but it really does have, when you start looking at the geopolitical issue, the tariffs, the trade issues. The market has certainly been spooked here, and excuse the pun, coming up here on Halloween. But it's been very, very, very spooked by the negotiations with starting with Mexico, starting with then talking with Canada, and now with China. Um, Corporations have been concerned about the future. If you see many of the companies that have been posting here in the S&P 500, they are on the majority beating their numbers, which is fantastic. And these big moves really sort of tend to happen beneath the 200-day moving average, which is what happened. So 23 of the 25 largest one-day rallies for the S&P 500 took place when we were beneath the 200-day moving average. So that is something you need to know since we've been below the 200-day moving average. And you can see from today, it just seems like we're oversold. The markets have been really, really good. The earnings have been great. Revenues have been fantastic. The forward guidance has been concerning. The growth has been concerning. But still, we're clipping along here really, really well. And it just seems like this is way overdone. So hold the course and stay invested. I want to make sure you always stay invested in regards to not missing the days that are up. Like for instance, like today, if you sold out on a Friday, today you're missing out, and really you can't really think about day to day. You got to be thinking about longer term and trying to stay invested for that growth that we all need. So that being said, if you are a conservative investor, if you are concerned about the markets, don't be afraid um, to take some money off the table, reassess. The last thing we want you doing is losing sleep. I'm not going to talk you into a time horizon. I'm not going to talk you into a risk tolerance that you're not comfortable with. So nothing wrong with being able to pull money off and then just sort of back up. But just don't look back. There's just no point in looking back in regards to what we call, I've always called in our family, as post-divestiture flourish, which means once you sell and you do go to cash or you go to more conservative investment, the markets will rally because you sold. It's all your fault, which is ultimately why I shaved my beard, because it was my fault that we fell in October because I tried to grow a beard. So that's gone. Now we rally and now we go, and we'll see what our next step is. I hope that was some sort of help in regards to just sort of bringing a perspective to the market. The show's Money Matters with Greg. I'm Greg Farrell, CEO and President of Farrell Wealth. It's a wealth management firm here locally in Valparaiso, Indiana, but we also service clients all over the nation. And I've been talking with a lot of clients, obviously, every day through these times here, and just making sure that we're staying the course and that they understand where things are. Also looking for opportunities as we go. So hopefully that helps you sort of alleviate some pain or alleviate some concern in regards to the market. Things are in a pretty good place. So I really want to make sure that you're definitely staying the course and you're working hard to do your homework. That being said, a lot of homework happens on this show. We like to be able to educate, and we talk about financial literacy on the show as much as possible, being able to give you some ideas and thoughts towards being more comfortable with your money. Look, it's no secret that that money and life are intertwined in regards to our work. Finding a balance between work and life is really, really important. And I wrote a recent blog post that's 8 tips for finding balance from work and life. And it's really no secret that a typical American is working long hours with little respite compared to other countries with huge economies. If we compare ourselves to Europe, you can really see a huge difference. Full-time employees here report an average work week of 47 hours, and 4 out of 10 American workers say they work well over 50 hours a week. Americans work on an average of 34.4 hours a week, and this is according to data that's from the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development. And this is longer than the work weeks of nations in the United Kingdom, which is 32.25, Austria is 31.33, Canada is 32.77, and Germany, which is 26.37. Despite this long work week, Americans also are terrible at taking vacation. First of all, employers are not required to offer any paid time off. Americans on average received only 10 to 15 annual vacation days and 6 federal holidays. And the majority of American workers don't even use all the vacation at an average of 4 days of unused vacation days, which results in a record high 258 million collective unused days off. And this is as of 2015. Comparably, companies in every country, part of the European Union, legally has to offer at least 4 work weeks of paid vacation to employees, not including holidays. And the Europeans tend to use all of their vacation days and consistently. I tell you, when I travel, you run into so many Europeans, Australians, people from different countries, and they all travel so much more than what seems like Americans do. So, what's the reason behind this lack of taking much needed vacations? And the biggest reason employees cite is this enormous amount of work that piles up while on vacation, followed by sort of the reasoning that no one else can do or is available to do your job, so you just stay at work. And you really can't afford to take that vacation. So people are also worried that they'll also be seen as a slacker and really think that they are more likely to lose their job if they take vacation. So even when Americans do take a vacation, 61% work while they're out of the office. And the statistics that a majority of Americans, 53%, say that they're overworked and burnt out, then they all make sort of a lot of sense. So in 2015, nearly 25% of American adults reported that they were under extreme stress, and that's up from 18% in 2014. So life outside of work, whether that's a week-long vacation or time after office hours, is really essential, and you really need to be able to concentrate on it. That's why I bring it up. It is important for a healthy body and a mind to recharge, sort of refocus, spark creativity, and increase productivity. Now, sort of immersing yourself in life outside of work is easier than said than done when an email app on your phone goes off on a regular basis and you're constantly, and I'm guilty too, as much as anyone, you have to legitimately love what you do during working hours, or you're either your own boss or you own your own business, but a work-life balance still applies, and it's just for those who are less than enthused about their daily grind. I want to use these tips to be really more mindful about fully embracing time completely outside of work. And this is why on this show we talk about money and how it sort of intertwines into our lives, how we can make you more money, grow your money, create wealth, protect your wealth, distribute your wealth during your lifetime, distribute after death. And this would be on the grow and create side. We are constantly talking about money in our lives. It affects everything we do, unfortunately. I always say it doesn't buy happiness, but it certainly does put down a really nice down payment. And so some of the things that we can do to have a little bit better work-life balance. The first thing would be to write down your top 5 priorities that don't have anything to do with work. These priorities they're personal and could be anything from spending quality time with your family to reading 2 books a month or even 1 book a month, to working on your tennis swing, learning to golf, learning to fly fish, whatever it might be. Don't make them complicated. Don't complicate your priorities or think that they have to be this all time consuming thing. Just keep a list of the priorities somewhere that's prominent so that you're perpetually reminded of your intentions. And I recommend you put it in your bathroom on your mirror, and so you see it. Obviously you're there every day, at least we hope you're there every day. And making sure that when you're brushing your teeth that you are reminding yourself. So write down your 5 top priorities. Next, you want to schedule at least one thing to look forward to each day. And then stop trying to multitask during that time. So when you're doing that thing you look forward to wholeheartedly, whether it's around a golf or activity of kids or grandkids, beers with friends, walk with your spouse, just be fully present. That means turn off your phone, welcome the joys of being with people and doing things you like. I'll tell you a quick story of an advisor. There's a friend of mine who with works with many prominent athletes, and one day he's on the couch watching a game with a number of his clients that are in the game with his family. He's got his 3 kids and his wife there, and he is constantly checking his phone, constantly watching the TV, and this is their time. This is the time as a family to be able to enjoy each other. And his wife sort of taps him on the shoulder during this event and just says, "You know what? I just wish you could be there when you're there. So if you need to be there at the game, then you should just be there. And when you're here, be here. But don't do both and try to turn one or the other off." And it was a really good comment. He said it in front of over 200 advisors about being there when you're there. So that's one thing that I'd say you look forward to each day is pick that one thing and then just be there when you're there in regards to what that is. Next, saying no. It is okay to say no to external asks from work that require your time after hours or on the weekend. Say yes to the asks that legitimately interest you or inspire you, but really a part of saying no is setting boundaries, meaning that when you're on vacation, set your out of office auto reply, so it sets clear expectations of a response. You are gone, you're away. And that extends to when you're with family or friends, taking time for yourself. Don't answer the phone or check up on work updates. Again, just learn to say no. Again, next point is take a long, hard look at your habits. The basic necessities of good nutrition, enough sleep, the right exercise are fundamental to feeling balanced. And if you're having a hard time objectively evaluating your daily activities, consider enlisting, a life or a wellness coach who can help point out where there's room for positive change and better balance in your life. The 5th point is exercise always. Look, when faced with a busy schedule, exercise is the first thing that seems to get cut, but it should really be the mainstay, the keystone to a productive, invigorated life. Beyond all the physical benefits, exercise relieves stress, clears a crowded mind, and just sort of choose those exercises you enjoy so that you're really more likely to keep your dedication to the workout. Don't be afraid to think outside the walls of the gym. Look, go hiking, go for a walk, hit the water in a kayak, jog with a dog, whatever. Join an adult softball game or basketball, whatever it might be. Do something you enjoy. Next would be to involve others. Talk with mentors, friends, family members about where you're at overall with the balancing of work-life balance, what you're trying to do. Ask them to share your work-life balance tips and struggles. Sharing your approach to being successful, productive, and happy throughout your life will just sort of keep you on track. When you say it, it ultimately becomes gospel. When you are not talking about it and not saying it, there's really no accountability. So I want to make sure that you know or you remind yourself. The last 2 is really just, it's all about you rather than involving others. Next would be the last 7 steps. The 7th step is meditation. And it really doesn't mean sitting cross-legged with your eyes closed. And it's more about meditation can mean a slow walk through peaceful environment or even, all the way to yoga. But finding what works best for you, and that goal is to really sort of activate your nervous system and your body's best response to making sure that you've got a pattern going and that you've got to be able to get out of the world that you're in, which would be a stressful environment at work. Okay, so and then next, the last one would be to reevaluate your work-life balance often, with changes at work or shifts and commitments outside of work, family, you name it, all the stresses we have. It's really a good idea to actively reflect on the balance between work and life and see how you're doing, and then sort of take the steps to evolve your approach to that balance. It makes you accountable. Um, I am a huge fan of reassessing through New Year's. That's always a great time to be able to figure out what you're looking to do in regards to your finances or your exercise or your spirituality or whatever you might like to be able to do better. New Year's is a great time to reassess, obviously with New Year's resolutions, but also just sort of set your goals for the upcoming year. And then I like to be able to reassess in Easter, just because the spring here in the Midwest, it seems to work out a little bit better, to remind myself what are my goals, how am I doing on any resolutions, any changes in life, whether it be financial or whether it be physical, spiritual, or emotional. However, basically, how am I doing? And with the sort of the spring coming on here in the Midwest, with the flowers coming out, it always seems like a good time with the weather change, whatnot. We come out of the dormancy of winter, and it just seems to work really well for me. And then reassess always in July, always to be able to make sure that you have July 4th. Maybe you have time off with family, maybe you have a vacation planned, and whatnot. July is usually always a really good time to refocus and revitalize, and then go back into that plan then in December, and start the new year. So those are sort of my tips on when and where you might want to be able to reassess those things as far as finding that balance between work and life. Because look, we can say it as much as we want, but and ignore it. But money is a part of our lives. It definitely affects many things, whether it be paying bills or hospital bills or whatever it might be. We need to be able to make sure that we are finding a balance between work and life, because we only have one life to live here. So make sure we're living it the best we can possibly live it, and the best way. So those are my 8 tips on finding balance between work and life. And that's it for the show. So want to be able to just make sure everybody knows the show's Money Matters with Greg here at 103.1 FM WVLP. It's also rebroadcast on YouTube. You can find us on YouTube here coming up. We'll have it up here in the next couple days. That's Farrell Wealth Channel, the @Farrell Wealth Channel. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook. And you can also find the podcast on iTunes with Apple, and also Podomatic.com if you want to find us there as well. So Greg Farrell, CEO and President of Farrell Wealth, registered financial advisor, talking about money on this show. We talk about growing, creating your money, protecting and preserving your money, distributing money during your life, and distributing money after death. That's what we do. I hope you're helpful. And today I want to remind everybody to be strong throughout this October. Hopefully we'll have a strong finish into October, and we'll sort of recoup much of the losses that have happened here. Be strong with your investment policy, be strong with your investment philosophy, and continue to stay calm and carry on. I want to thanks again for Greg Kovach for being an engineer, as always. Wouldn't be here without him, so I want to thank you for that. And look forward to everyone having a fantastic Halloween. Be safe out there. Make sure that you enjoy the kids, enjoy your families as much as possible, and we'll catch you next week. To everyone, have a healthy and productive and profitable week this week. We'll see you next week.